Look, I need to be 100% real with you guys before we even dive into the heavy numbers because my last video about the 2026 financial crisis actually had some of you hitting the panic button in the comments. I remember sitting on my floor back in the day staring at a phone screen that showed a bank balance of literally $4.27 while my car was outside, making a noise that sounded like a blender full of gravel. Oh shit. I remember that feeling of pure, unadulterated dread like it was yesterday, just that cold pit in your stomach when you realize you one bad Tuesday away from total collapse. That was my canon event. The moment I realized that being fine when the economy is booming means absolutely nothing if you don't too have a shield. When the vibes shift, I'm not a fortune teller, I'm not some psychic in a high-rise office. And to be honest, I could be totally wrong about the exact month or day this hits. But I will admit the data we are seeing right now across the board is pretty concerning, and I stand by the red flags I am seeing in the job market and the housing sector. Maybe the next 2 years look great, maybe the stock market keeps pumping and everyone feels like a genius, and maybe the big crisis doesn't happen until 2028 or 2030. But here is the thing. If you wait until the fire starts to go out and buy a fire extinguisher, you are already cooked. And that is just the brutal truth of how money works. Regardless of the timing, I think it is really important to make yourself recession-proof right now, especially while you are in your 20s and you still have the energy to pivot. So today we are discussing exactly how to build that armor, but before we jump into the strategy, I want you to be honest with yourself in the comments. Do you actually feel prepared for a recession right now, or are you just kind of hoping for the best and praying your paycheck keeps showing up? Before we talk about the math and the spreadsheets, we have to understand the psychology of a recession because these aren't just economic events. They are massive psychological jump scares. What happens to most people is that when the news cycle gets dark and the economy gets tight, they absolutely panic and start making the worst decisions possible. They cut out their investments, they sell their stocks at the bottom, they freeze up like a deer in headlights, and they just wait for things to get better while their wealth evaporates. Meanwhile, the people who actually build real wealth are doing the exact opposite because they have the mental space to stay calm and focus on the fundamentals. They look for the opportunities that everyone else is too scared to touch. And they prepare months or years in advance so they never have to react out of fear. The main reason I am making this video is so we can get you into that prepared category. So if the world goes sideways, you aren't the one crashing out. In your 20s, your biggest asset is the amount of money in your Robinhood account. It is your ability to adapt and move faster than the people with mortgages and 5 kids. It is a lot easier for you to pivot your entire career or pick up a new skill than it is for someone who has been in the same industry for 20 years and has a mountain of fixed debt. Recessions reward the people who can move, learn, and adapt quickly. And that is exactly the kind of financial engine we are going to build today. The very first thing you need to do, and I mean like right now, is build a stack of cash that makes you feel like a god even if the world is ending. Because in a recession, cash isn't just for buying things, it is power, it is freedom, and it is the only thing that keeps the panic away when the headlines get scary. I want you to think about your cash reserve in 3 specific levels, and you have to finish level 1 before you even think about the others. Level 1 is what I call the micro cushion, and this is just a quick $1,000 that you save up over the next month or two. This $1,000 is there to protect you from dumb emergencies, like your laptop dying right before a deadline or a surprise bill from the dentist that you didn't see coming. These aren't life-altering disasters, but for most people, a surprise $800 bill is enough to put them into a debt spiral that takes years to escape. Once you have that $1,000 tucked away in a high yield savings account, you've already won the first boss fight and your life is officially more stable than 60% of the population. Now we move to level 2, which is the stability phase, and this is where you save up exactly 1 full month of your actual living expenses. If you sit down and look at your rent, your groceries, your gas, and your subscriptions, and that number is $3,000. Then that is your next target. This month cushion protects you from the one-off job issues, like if your company has a glitch and payroll is late, or if your hours get cut for a couple of weeks. It gives you 30 days of breathing room where you don't have to change your lifestyle or stress about where your next meal is coming from. And finally, we hit level 3. Which is the full fortress. And this is building that legendary 3 to 6 month emergency fund that everyone talks about but few actually have. In the 2026 economic climate, I am personally aiming for the 6-month mark because the job market is looking way more volatile than it did a few years ago. If you have $18,000 or $20,000 just sitting there, you are basically untouchable, and a layoff isn't a tragedy anymore. It's just a paid vacation while you find something better. The reason this matters so much is that in a recession, job security becomes a total myth, and having that cash gives you the leverage to not accept the first terrible job offer that comes your way. It keeps you from being the person who has to take a 40% pay cut just to keep the lights on, and that leverage is how you stay ahead of the curve. Now that your cash is sorted, let us talk about recession, proofing your income because your paycheck is your first and last line of defense. In a downturn, the people who get absolutely cooked are the ones who only have one single source of income that is tied to a vulnerable industry like tech or luxury retail. We are already seeing massive layoffs in tech, and it's starting to bleed into other sectors, so you need to look at your income in 3 layers of protection. Layer 1 is making yourself essential at your current 9 to 5. And I don't mean just working harder, I mean working smarter. You want to be the person who solves the problems that keep your boss awake at night, the one who knows how to use the AI tools that nobody else understands yet. If you can use Claude or ChatGPT to do the work of 3 people, your company is going to protect you at all costs because you are literally a profit center for them. Recessions force companies to cut the low-value roles, so your goal is to be the person who documents their wins and makes the entire team run smoother. Layer 2 is building what I call a recession-proof skill stack. And this is about learning things that companies need even when they are losing money. Skills like high-ticket sales, copywriting, data analytics, and automation are always in demand because they either make a company money or save them money. In your 20s, you should be stacking these skills like Lego bricks. Because once you learn how to prompt an AI to write code or analyze a financial model, you have that skill forever. It's like riding a bike. Once you have the skill, you can always monetize it. And that is a much better insurance policy than any government program. Layer 3 is where you add a small, simple, low overhead side income that has nothing to do with your main boss. I'm not talking about starting some massive venture capital-backed business. I am talking about freelancing, tutoring, or selling digital templates. Maybe you re-good at video editing, or you know how to manage social media for small businesses that are struggling to stay relevant. Even an extra $500 a month from a side gig can cover your groceries or your car insurance. And that one extra stream is the difference between panic and peace. Once your income is shielded, we have to talk about the part that makes everyone's stomach turn, and that is mastering recession investing. This is where the average person loses their mind and their money, but it is also where the biggest wealth transfers in human history actually happen. The number one rule of investing during a crash, assuming you still have your job and your emergency fund, is that you do not stop. In your 20s, a recession is literally the greatest gift the universe can give you because it means the entire stock market is on a massive discount. If the SP 500 drops by 20% or 30%, you aren't losing money unless you sell. You are just getting a chance to buy more shares for every dollar you invest. You have 30 or 40 years for this money to grow. So a dip in 2026 is just a tiny blip on the chart when you look at it from the perspective of 2050. The more money you can shove into the market while the candles are red, the faster your net worth is going to explode when the recovery inevitably happens. How you do this is through boring, consistent dollar cost averaging into low-cost index funds or ETFs that track the total market. Don T. Try to be a hero and time the bottom. And Don T. Try to pick the one magic stock that is going to moon during the crisis. Just set up an automatic contribution to your Roth IRA or your 401k and stop looking at the daily fluctuations because they are just noise. Oh shit, I see so many people pull their money out right at the bottom because they can handle the red color on their screen. And then they miss the biggest pump in history when the market bounces back. Don T, be that person, stay disciplined. And remember that the market has a 100% success rate of recovering from every single recession we have ever had. But before you go all in on stocks, make sure you have killed off any high interest debt like credit cards or payday loans that are charging you 20% or more. Paying off a 25% interest credit card is a guaranteed 25% return on your money, and you won't find that anywhere else in the world, especially during a recession. Now let's talk about your lifestyle, because recession-proofing your life is about being strategic, not about being miserable. You don't need to live like you are broke. You just need to make sure you aren't locked into high fixed costs that you can escape if things get tight. The biggest trap for people in our age group is signing a lease on a luxury apartment or getting a $700 car payment just to flex on Instagram. When a recession hits, those fixed costs are the anchors that drag you underwater, so try to keep your must-pay bills as low as possible. Another huge part of this is your social circle, and I know this sounds harsh, but you need to be around people who are focused on growth, not just consumption. If your entire friend group only knows how to have fun by spending $200 at a club every weekend, they are going to be a liability when the economy shifts. Surround yourself with people who are learning new skills, talking about side hustles, and staying disciplined with their finances. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, so make sure those 5 people have a prepared mindset instead of a panicked one. And please, for the love of everything, take care of your physical health, because in a recession, a health crisis is a financial crisis. Sleeping well, eating clean, and hitting the gym isn't just about looks, it's about making sure your brain is functioning at 100% so you can make good decisions. Stress is going to be high for everyone, so your ability to stay calm and healthy is literally a competitive advantage in the marketplace. When the world feels like it's falling apart, the person who can still think clearly and execute on their plan is the one who wins. I want you to realize that recessions are where the next generation of millionaires is actually made. And it's not because they got lucky. It's because they had their cash ready, they kept their skills sharp, and they didn't let the fear-mongering on the news stop them from executing. If you do these things, if you build your fortress of cash and stack your skills, you aren't just going to survive the next few years, you are going to thrive. I'm not trying to scare you with these videos, I am trying to wake you up so you can take advantage of the opportunities that are coming when you're in your 20s. You are in the prime decade where a few smart moves can set you up for the rest of your entire life. Don't waste this time being distracted by the noise. Focus on your plan, stay consistent, and keep your eyes on the long-term goal. If you found this helpful, do me a huge favor and hit that like button so the algorithm knows we are building something real here. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the curve and get more deep dives into how to navigate this crazy economy. I'm going to keep showing you exactly what I am doing with my own money so we can all come out of this stronger and wealthier. Keep your head up, stay disciplined, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.